All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of the Deku Scrub Playground, starring Oaf
What's up?
and Larulian Historian.
Oh, ho, ho, what is up, my dude?
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, not too bad, not too bad. We're here with episode 3 of DSP, and it's pretty cool to finally say, episode 3. This is, God, this has been something that, I've been talking about for a while, and some of you've been talking about for a while, starting up the cast and everything, and I'm glad that, three in now, and that's nuts.
Yeah.
But welcome, my dude, and welcome everybody at home. We've got possibly one of the bigger ones today, and I know I said that with Interloper War and then the Sheikah Zonai and all that other stuff. Today, we're going to be talking about the bread and butter, which is time. And I know that when it comes to Zelda, I've always said, just like the Triforce and 3 aspects of being that go with the Triforce, there's also been 3 aspects to Hyrule and her history as a whole, which is quite literally time, dreams, and music. And today, everybody at home watching or listening or however you want to soak up the podcast today, with LH over here and myself, Oaf. By all means, go ahead, because today's gonna probably be the biggie. It's about time. It's about time. It's about time. So LH, I know that we were talking about this crazy over the past few days of the server, and also personally with you, me, and Dan, so on and so forth.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes to time, it's probably a dumb question to ask this, but as historians and theorists and as researchers alike as we are, we always got to ask some of the most obvious questions, even if we know where it's going. And it's the question is, how important is time to the overall Zelda mythos and Hyrule's history, LH?
I would say it's extremely important, and it is a topic that is touched upon quite often in the series. Barring the obvious things like Ocarina of Time, which obviously it's in the title right there. You know all about it there.
Yep.
But Skyward Sword focuses heavily on time travel.
Yep.
Oracle of Ages. There are even moments and other games like Majora's Mask where you have to travel back and start over, start fresh, and do 3-day cycles over and over and over again. So time is a topic that comes up often. And the most recent one, we have Tears of the Kingdom.
And oh god, yeah. So with Tears of the Kingdom, we have, of course, the Time Stone, and we've got Zelda, the Light Dragon, who is the holder of the Light Dash or Light Hyphen Time Stone, which if I could just point one thing out about that with the Light Time Stone, for clarification and ease of access sake, I'm gonna go back to my childhood for a moment here, but I'm probably gonna call the Time Light Stone or the Zelda Stone the Goddess Stone, just for the fact of, we had the sages, the respective 6 and then 7 being Zelda in that game. But whenever it comes to Zelda or even Sonya at that point, yes, she's technically the time sage, but I've always saw it as that being the goddess sage,
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, if you talk just Zelda, just Tears of the even just Tears of the Kingdom alone, she is light and time combined. Yes, the stone has the symbol for time, and time is the magic that awoke within her. But she carries both. It's talked about by Minoru, by Sonya, by Rauru, she has light and time
Exactly.
in equal part.
And it's not just going like to the deeper levels of the deep lore and behind the scenes and stuff like that. You know, it's more or less like if you want to take it from an oath perspective, if you want to take it from my kind of viewpoint, I always saw it as this. When Zelda's secret stone that she carries through the game, as you described, says time on there, and she's, you know, bloodline descendant of both Sky and Sonia. And I think the other kind of key giveaway is, without having to think too hard, where did she pick up that stone?
She picked it up from Raru's hand.
Yes, exactly. And that's where the outlier is right there. It's like that was the previous held light stone. And what's even funnier is, like, before Zelda gets jumped to the ancient past, which she already did because of this infinite time loop bootstrap paradox, which we'll get into later on. Before she jumped, but already jumped, at that time, you know, light turns into time light, and then we have the original time, which is the corrupted into demon, which we see get
Demon,
yeah,
darkness.
exactly.
Kanji for darkness.
Exactly, and we see that get backed up with the story as it progresses forward. But now that's probably where I'm going to have to get into maybe our first thing. So there's a couple of shows that you and I watched growing up. Well, one of them growing up, and then one of them more recently. And
More recently, yeah.
And I don't know why I didn't have this on ahead of time. I don't really want to play the entire Day of the Doctor thing, and I don't really want to play the entire, what do you call it, Day of the Hero video that I made. So what I'm going to do for everyone here today is I'll pull up Day of the Doctor, but I'm only going to get to a certain point. Because this one point kind of reflects two things at once. And it would be the existence of Wild/Tears, or modern-day Hyrule. But how do I explain this? Modern-day Hyrule existing without it needing to exist yet, if you know what I mean. And a similar kind of thinking can be also thought about Skyward Sword in a way. So let me see if I could find it right there. Okay, so this is from Day of the Doctor. This is the No Sir All 13 clip, and I'm only going to be playing the first, well, not the first whole minute, but from 30 seconds until maybe a minute 30 at most, just for the example of this. So.
All right, play it up.
But it certainly won't work. I was happy with fairly terrible. Sorry, just thinking out loud.
We're flying our 3 TARDISes into your lower atmosphere.
We're positioned at equidistant intervals around the globe.
Equidistant, so grown up.
Just about ready to do it. Ready to do what?
We're going to freeze Gallifrey.
I'm sorry. What?
Using our TARDISes, we're going to freeze Gallifrey in a single moment in time.
You know, like those stasis cubes? Single moment in time held in a parallel pocket universe.
Except we're going to do it to a whole planet. And all the people on it.
So, just like the Gallifreyan war commander right there going, "What? What do you mean by that?" What? Would you want to take the reins on this one, LH? Or would
Sure.
you? Okay.
But no, you know what? You're pulling into it. Let's have you hold the reins here,
Okay.
and I will provide support.
All right, yeah. So when it comes to this example of the stasis cubes that hold parallel pocket dimensions in Doctor Who, for context for everyone at home, because I know not everyone at home knows much about Doctor Who, if at all. In the history of Doctor Who, there was one certain point that made the Doctor do what he did, and that was quote-unquote run away from home from Gallifrey out of fear. It's because he saw the deaths of millions and the creation of the universe. As a kid, myself, I didn't understand what that meant until that day the Doctor came out. What he meant, he saw the death of millions but the creation of the universe, he meant it in the literal sense. He didn't see his home of Gallifrey being blown up, he saw the Daleks blowing each other up and thus killing all of them at that moment. The Daleks blowing themselves up. And the creation of the universe is not only in a metaphorical way saying, yeah, through the disappearance of Gallifrey into this pocket dimension and destruction of all the Daleks, the chaos that ensued afterwards is the creation of the universe, like literally our galaxy and so on and so forth, as the Doctor put it. But at that same point, you could also say that the pocket area where Gallifrey is also the birth of that new universe. We see it happen in Doctor Who again with Bad Wolf Bay, where the Doctor literally banishes Rose and everybody to an alternate parallel dimension, and I always thought, maybe that Bad Wolf Bay dimension was the one that Gallifrey got put, the whole time.
Ooh.
And granted, we haven't seen that come back up or anything, but I find it really weird that Rose showed up in Day of the Doctor for those events to happen, and she's also in Bad Wolf Bay, and she's also now the new Doctor.
Yeah.
But I won't get too distracted with that, because that example is shown in Zelda in ways. Two different kinds of ways. Actually, more than two different kinds of ways. So, when this happened, when Gallifrey was literally put into this pocket dimension, the birth of the universe happened in the main existence. And in that pocket dimension, existence was created at that same point. Two wholly separate universes, literally separated by like a wall, but could easily be connected. Now, with that kind of thinking, do we see something like this happening? Do we see an event of space-time happening so great that it alters space-time in the future, in which the original existence is now saved, but nobody can go back to ever again? There's like legitimately no way to get back to that. My personal...
I can think of one.
Yeah, what's up?
If I'm following you, it would be the ending of Ocarina of Time.
Yep.
When Zelda sends Link back to his childhood and closes the path between times, everything from thereafter separates into two completely unique worlds.
Mm-hmm.
One, where the adult hero of time had defeated Ganon along with the sages, and peace is ensured, and that world carries forward. And the other, where the hero of time now finds himself back in his childhood, altering the course of events to prevent that future from happening.
Exactly. And in the inner minutia, when it comes to that example, I always liked picking out one particular detail, and it often gets glossed over, but he gave up the ocarina.
Yes, he did.
And she is the one who sent him. She didn't wield the sword, but he did. And now, when it comes into that inner finding, bit of details, it makes me think, okay, well, one could think that the sword was purposefully not used with the ocarina, like the person playing the instrument didn't hold the sword. But thinking about this when it comes to intrinsic properties of certain items, people, and etc., some things will be backup, some things will be created, some things will be copied, so on and so forth when it comes to, and I know you and I will talk about this, the many different examples of time travel and time manipulation, because there's literally so many goddamn examples out there. Wow. But it makes me think, personally, and I know that this is just me being me, but in the adult timeline, when the hero is sent back, Triforce is kept in the adult timeline that he had, so courage gets split, as we saw with Wind Waker.
Yes. It splinters into shards, yeah.
The Master Sword does not go back with the hero. So
no, it doesn't.
My whole thing is it does stay in that existence of the adult timeline, and the Master Sword you see, the Hyrule you see around you in the child timeline is literally created at that moment. Now, it does run in tandem with Link's, lead up to that moment, but if that's also the case, then Temple of Time has already been open for a while, and we should see 3 spiritual stones, so on and so forth. But at the same kind of thinking, if he's sent back to the moment before he first met Zelda, that means he's in there without the door of time truly opening, because it's only 1 stone he had at that point. The inner workings when it comes to doing time travel. So then in the child timeline, he doesn't have the Triforce of Courage. The sword is now there because it wasn't sent back with him. It was right there. And you just get those smaller kind of details, right? Another one that follows, like, the Ocarina split, for example, Terraco.
Terraco, yeah.
Terraco's probably a big one because just like with the child timeline showing, like, we're remaking what you just saw because now time's rewritten, Terraco follows that same line because he jumped back, or they jumped back because it's a robot with no gender. But I still personally think, even though I call Terraco a he, I still think the Queen of Hyrule, Zelda's mother's soul, is within Terraco somewhat. That's just my thinking, but
interesting.
But I'm thinking about this, whether it was like 2 weeks, 2 months, we don't know. But that would literally rewrite the lead up to Breath of the Wild, or even Terraco jumping in the first place. Because when the sun rises at the end of Age of Calamity, and the hero, and the champion's descendants are sent back to their own existence, that's the day of the calamity.
The day of Zelda's 17th birthday?
Well, to what I remember, in Age of Calamity, because the malice Ganondorf had in Breath of the Wild also went with Terraco, and it merged.
It was,
and
it was affecting the past as well.
And that made me think, all right, well, Ganondorf has now merged 2 forms of himself together, which that's unheard of. But then again, when you're trapped underneath, the ground for all time, that you think of a couple of crazy things. So, Terraco, he jumps back maybe 2 weeks, 2 months, so on and so forth, but that automatically means that he's made a new offshoot, because if the events in Age of Calamity actually happened before Breath of the Wild, then the memories in Breath of the Wild would be null void.
Exactly. It's a completely separate sequence of events.
Exactly. And still following that mindset, knowing Terraco can't go back because it would literally rewrite everything, all of that. The champion's descendants are safe from this, and I've been asked about this, and I know we've talked about this. Yunobo, Riju, Teba, Tulin, and Sidon, when they were pulled through the literal gates of time that Terraco spawned to save the 4 champions' descendants, and then Tulin just showing up because he's like, Dad, I'm gonna follow you. That I personally believe the moment that those 5 were pulled through the gates of time to help out the era of Calamity was after Calamity Ganon was stopped in Breath of the Wild. Because you have certain...
I would agree with that.
Because that would be about that, 3 to 5 year time span that we've talked about of rebuilding and people finally being able to talk to the princess since she's no longer sealed, and the princess and the hero being able to go from settlement to settlement, and we should really talk to Mipha's father because Divine Beast Varuda has stopped working. And I'm like, yeah, it has. Put the sword back, to heal as well, because you just had this giant battle in the middle of Hyrule Field and everybody probably just saw it. And I just kind of sit here like, well, there surely can't be anything in Age of Calamity that backs this up. There is. There is. When talking with Yunobo, in one of the cutscenes, he was literally talking about how Link, from his time, was the one to show him, courage and how to be strong. Like the true bulwark of the Gorons, Daruk. And it shows, examples that could only be believed if this Yunobo is the same one from Breath of the Wild.
From Breath of the Wild, exactly. I was going to bring that up. So yeah, he's not the only one that makes mention of something similar, but a lot of them that came from the future all talk about Link. Like, they know their own version of Link. So they all came from the future where we knew Breath of the Wild, and were pulled back. They also all talk about feeling called or feeling pulled when the gates opened, and that they saw their loved ones, right? Like these ancestors. In the case of Sidon, when he came through, he's like, "You won't
take her again
from me again." Yeah.
It's like,
so he's already gone through that grief. He already has lost Mipha.
Oh, hell.
At least one. So when that gate opened and he came through, he's like, "You are not taking her again."
Yeah, and not just that, but at the end when Sidon is fading away with Yunobo and everybody, Mipha's like, "We'll meet once again, little brother," and you just kind of see it on his face of going through all of this joy of finally helping everybody in the path that he was a child. And then his sister says that, he's like, "Right, yeah, we will. Okay, bye." And then they all disappear, and he's, I think out of anyone's Sidon got the shit end of the stick on that. Like, fuck, man. But it's also the interesting aspect of that of they would then show up before Tears of the Kingdom. So during this time of rebuilding, gives Yunobo more courage to stand up to Bluto and be like, "Listen, Goro, you're too old. You're gonna be complaining about your back. So why don't you just become lead supervisor over all mining expeditions and projects? I will be I'll be the foreman. I'll be the one in charge of all the mining stuff, but we still need all hands on deck." It would give Yunobo that gumption. It would give Sidon the courage to finally lead his fucking people and then get married. It would make Riju more, I guess you could say that Riju became more aware, battle awareness or somewhat, like Urbosa was. And then with Tulin, this is the big one. Tulin Tornado.
Yes.
And that's when Tulin was still a little wee bab.
So he was learning when he was in the past with Rivali.
And we see,
he got inspired.
Yep. And we see him try to do it like Rivali, straight upwards or vertical, but as we know, Tulin Tornado or Tulin's Sage Gift, I don't think it's actually called Tulin's Tornado in Tears of the Kingdom, is it?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't recall him using the term, but it is a gust, right? He uses it
Exactly.
to launch himself, and he can use it to launch Link.
Double checking it now. Exactly.
He launches him forward.
In The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Tulin Tornadoes, Tulin's... No, get the fuck out of here. Is it actually called Tulin Tornado? No.
If it is, that's a big one, eh?
I'm on...
Because that's what he was calling it in Age of Calamity.
I'm on Zelda Dungeon right now.
Okay.
And I'm looking at it. In-game description. When Tulin's aura is charged, he can create a stream of wind that blows straight forward. This can be used for bursts of speed while... Oh, okay. He probably called it Tulin's Tornado when he was still pretty young, you know, when he was training with Rivali and his father Teba. Coming back home, and I called this before Tears of the Kingdom came out. I'm like, you guys do realize that it looks like certain people are going to be in charge of their respective peoples. So what did we see? We saw Sidon now become the new king, as the former king is now more or less retired. We see
he's retired.
Exactly. We see with the Gorons, we see Yunobo now taking over the mining operations and Bluto more or less kicking back.
Yep.
We saw...
He's the new boss of the Gorons.
Exactly. We saw in Breath of the Wild, and then furthermore established in Tears of the Kingdom, that Riju didn't really need to do that same thing as the prior two, because she's already the leader. However, just because you're the... And this one's going to be really important. I'm not going to say whether this is one thing or another. For everyone at home, you take this as you is. You take this as it is, and if you need to think on it, you think on it. But just because you're the leader of your people doesn't mean that you're smart. And you know, take that as you will. Take that as you will, especially since I'm an American, but
she didn't have wisdom. She was thrust into the position at a very young age.
Exactly.
So she didn't have the life experience of being a strong leader.
Mm-hmm. And like, who else to teach her other than Urbosa on top of Naboris itself, and then come back, and when you meet up with Riju in Tears of the Kingdom, she's not sitting on the throne waiting like she was in Breath of the Wild. She's already out there training because her people are in hiding.
Yep.
And then we go to the Rito, and Kanali is now in charge of the target range, but Teba is now the leader, which means Tulin, his son, becomes the next champion. And I love this, because I look at it, I'm like, you guys are setting up a possibility for the succession of power. There could literally be a third game. For everyone at home, we might get into that in a future episode. Because, oh man, do I have ideas of what could happen in a third blank of the blank era game, you know? Like, I personally do think they've been leading up to that, but again, that'll be another time. Going back to time itself. Hey, hey, the timing of it all. So, with training with Teba and Rivali in the era of Calamity in this offshoot, no less, and then coming back home, taking up these responsibilities, we see Tulin mature, not only in a physical aspect of he no longer has that giant head with 3 little feathers on the top and trying to do a upwards, spiral of wind like Rivali. He takes that inspiration and thinks, you know what, I'm going to think like Master Rivali and make my own tornado, but I'm going to think like my dad, who is the best archer I've seen next to Rivali, and I'm going to try to incorporate the two in one. Imagine for a moment, Tulin uses the workings of Rivali's Gale into Tulin's Tornado and Teba's marksmanship, and the first Tulin's Tornado was actually formed around an arrow. And then Tulin picked that up, because if you can visually train that on an arrow, you could probably do that with your body if you just learn how to control the wind at that point.
Yeah.
So the reason why I also come into this is all of this gets tied in. Not only with this whole example of Terraco, like the hero of time, there's another example with that, and that would be Skyward Sword. As I've probably chewed you and Dan's ears off enough over the past few years, the example with this is literally with Skyward Sword's end. The people who went through the Gate of Time was the Hero of Sky, the very first, the reincarnated goddess herself, Zelda of Sky, who's not a princess, no royalty at all.
Not a princess, exactly.
And Groose. And this is important. Because they stopped Demise in the ancient past, which is apparently either moments after Hylia died or even, even centuries. It comes to this thing of the inner workings and the smaller nitpick details that get glossed over. Those three went back in time to stop Demise and successfully did so. Then the first question comes up that everybody has asked since 2011-2012. Okay, well, if we went back in time to stop Demise, why the hell did we need to stop the Imprison? Why is the Imprison showing up? Why did anything we did leading up to this point even matter or happen? And that is yes. The answer I have for you is yes. Back in the day, I didn't understand it. Today, I understand it. It's one of those stasis cubes. One of those pocket dimensions, a parallel dimension perfect to preserve anything within it. The existence that Sky, Groose, and Zelda left to go through the Gate of Time to stop Demise, that's that stasis cube. Because when Demise is defeated, they go back to the Sealed Temple. Zelda asks Impa, why don't you come with us, You'll have a good time. And she's like, no, I gotta stay here. I gotta make sure that, he's actually dead, and someone watches over the Triforce and the Gate of Time. Okay, that makes sense, and then go through the Gate of Time. Gate of Time fades away, and Impa, as an old woman, fades away. Here's the inner workings on that, though. They're not in their original existence. The moment those three step outside of the Gate of Time, back into their quote-unquote present, their present has been rewritten. They technically are not standing in the same time pattern they once were. And it's literally down to the factors of, if Demise was sealed and then killed and all of that, there is no Imprison. Correct.
Or is there?
Correct as well. But then you go into the inner workings of, why can't Impa come back? Impa was in that present the entire game. She was literally hopping back and forth between time with Zelda, and oh yeah, that would mean that in the present there was always two of her. So why couldn't she come? It's because she's bound to that time. As she says, my time is here. I can't follow you with, but we will meet again somehow. And then you kind of think of that, if she fades away the same way the Gate of Time fades away, it's because the present they stand in is not the original one they left. It's rewritten.
Interesting.
So,
I've never interpreted it that way.
a very similar way we could think of this is the Ocarina split, the Terraco split. However, instead of being able to follow two timelines from one event, it literally becomes this original timeline. Now splits, but if you follow it, it dead ends immediately after. Why does it dead end? Because it literally has no more Demon King. But it also has no more Goddess Reborn. So if there's no Demon King and no Goddess Reborn in its existence, there's only the Watcher of the Triforce Gate of Time, Impa, because that establishment to this new present is now cut, Impa didn't die, Gate of Time didn't fade away, and the Triforce is left unprotected. No, this does not lead into the Interloper War, but it's a nice little fun thing of thinking, oh, their existence got rewritten. Yeah, just like with Terraco, who made a new existence. That right there, the original existence that those three left would be in the same matter of 100 years ago calamity, Terraco no longer exists. Because he jumped.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm picking up what you're putting down.
And Terraco can't come back, because then everything gets rewritten and it all becomes a headache, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, on that same counterpoint, that Terraco made a new offshoot that we could see return sometime in the future, on a very similar notion with Skyward Sword. They went through the Gate of Time and then came back to the present that they did not leave. It would explain, like, the Master Sword pedestal showing up. It would explain the whole, well, if we killed Demise in the past, why is the Imprison, here, this, there, and everything? All of these questions could be answered because it is technically a split, but we don't follow that other side of the split. Because quite literally, there's nothing to follow at that point. Because if Zelda is no longer there in that existence, the Goddess Reborn bloodline does not happen. There's no Demon King to come back, and even if he does, well, then the entire world gets destroyed at that point. Because there's also no hero to stop them. There's a Gate of Time, and there's a Triforce, sure, and there's a young Impa, but the matter of fact is, like, even at that present day, modern day, no one could save anybody. Because the hero, the princess, and Bruce, their original existence got rewritten. Because they don't live there anymore. Because they went back in time. You see what I mean, yeah? So...
It's a conundrum. It is a pickle.
It is. And God, it's not really a loop.
It doesn't have to be a pickle. I have an interpretation of it as well.
What's up?
So, we know from Skyward Sword that stuff in the past has already affected the future from the get-go.
Yep.
Because Impa, or the old woman, I should say, is already wearing the bracelet that Zelda gives to her at the end of their adventure in the past.
The crystal with Zelda already being in there as well. And...
Yes.
Yep.
So, we know that things in the past have already happened or have already happened because they will happen in that sense, right? When it comes to the imprisoned, what is the imprisoned? It is just a manifestation of the residual stuff from Demon King Demise, right?
Yeah, so
It
basically
comes up out of the ground and then forms a shape, and it's a bestial shape because it's malformed, it's unfinished, it's missing something.
I know where you're going with this. I know exactly where you're going with this.
So when Link goes into the past and defeats Demise, destroys his physical body, takes the soul of Hylia back because that's what he used to reform himself.
The last
all that's left of him.
Yeah.
All that's left of him is the residual thoughts, his hatred, the part that made him a demon, and it gets absorbed into the sword.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. And
now, who says it has to stay in the sword?
That's exactly correct.
So Impa says she's got to watch over the blade and ensure that the residual thoughts of Demise do not awaken again. What if she takes that darkness draws it out of the sword, puts it into the ground where Hylia first sealed it, uses the spike to hold it in place, and then awaits for Link, Zelda, and Groose to come through the gate in the future before she closes it.
Yeah? Crap, yeah. No, yeah.
So that residual thought is what becomes the imprisoned. It is what originally became the imprisoned in the distant past, but in that situation, that is what Hylia left. Whereas all of the future incarnations of it that Link faced in the present day are the parts that he left behind in the past after he destroyed Demise.
Yo, I'm not gonna lie, that's actually making me think a little bit deeper on that, because I always knew, like, when it came to Girahim, for an example, I was on the notion way back in the day of Girahim probably bailed so that he could go forward in time to try to re-trigger the events, and he's basically caught in his own self-contained time loop that he put himself. But
that's one good way to look at it.
And the way that you're describing it too, that makes so much more sense than it being like a original existence being rewritten and Impa literally being there in her whatever I was trying to get at. But
I'm not saying that I'm not saying that your idea has
but
any less merit or that mine has more.
Right.
I'm just saying that was always the way I've interpreted it.
Yeah, and
that's the fun thing about the Zelda series as a whole. It gives us a lot of breadcrumbs. It gives us a lot of puzzle pieces.
It does.
But the way we put those pieces together is entirely unique to each and every individual who plays the game.
You know, I think with you backing up the Skyward loop right there, and with Impa being responsible for the spike and all of those after Demise is gone, Hylia raises everything, all that. There's one little last piece detail we could actually wiggle in there that could make sense. What would happen to the true and complete Master Sword if it was hidden away and wasn't used for an ungodly, unknown amount of time? It'd probably revert back to Goddess Sword form, wouldn't it? And I've been saying, there's probably Sheikah in the sky with like Gondo and Peter from Bamboo Island. But as you pointed out, with the bird statues, and the bird statues also being the way to get to the sky, Impa could have been the one that put the sword up there the whole time.
Interesting.
Because, we know Hylia put the Triforce up there, and presumably Sacred Stones, but we never got an actual explanation of, hey, this sword Hylia is holding in this memory, yeah? Of her lifting Skyloft, yeah? That's not the Goddess Sword, would it? Because she's the goddess and that would be her sword.
How did it get into the sky if she used it against Demise?
Exactly. So
holy shit.
So this then makes me think, oh my god, the theory that went around 10 years ago that Fee is Hylia's spirit in a way, I got chills. Because the way I always saw it with Skyward Sword is when Zelda talks, she's speaking in white text like everyone else. But when she switches over to gold text, that's Hylia speaking through her. But at that same time, whenever Hylia speaks through her, Fee is not present.
They're never in the same room together.
That's nuts! Did we just discover something? It's almost like draconification in a way. Hylia did a draconification to become mortal instead of immortal like she was. We call this a humanification.
Humanification. Oh man, I'm just thinking about that. Okay, going in that same vein. Okay, so Seifi is not just a creation of the goddess, but is like a residue of the goddess. Okay, so she's got all of this knowledge, all of this information. She can speak in the ancient language of the gods, right?
Uh-huh.
What if she's not the soul? Because the soul has been reborn into Zelda. What if she is just the residual divinity? Like an empty husk of the divine form. So she's got all of that knowledge, all of that experience.
That's it. Because, like...
doesn't have a soul. That's why she's not human-like.
That's why she's all more logical, robotic, and the only thing that can activate the goddess crests is what? That sword.
Yes.
Dude, I think this might be the first time during the DSP we've actually made a discovery like that. Like, I've got chills right now because holy crap, all of that makes way more sense. Oh my god. Yo.
Yeah, that's damn.
oh my god. That would explain why Sky, after his physical body dies, his spirit becomes the immortal spirit of the hero and master of the Master Sword. So then when his spirit goes into another hero that is required for that era, they are now eligible to pull the Master Sword. And if anybody in the future is like, well, that's bullshit. Yeah, okay, sure. Hey, doesn't Hylia do the same thing with her reincarnations?
Yeah, basically. That's the general premise, is that the bloodline of the goddess Hylia, reborn as a mortal, so Zelda and her descendants, carry a mysterious sacred power passed down to them from the goddess. And they're able to do things and see things, like prophecies and visions, that most people do not, right?
Yeah, dude.
It's the goddess power, it's the goddess manifesting within themselves.
Bro, what I'm starting to realize with that is, like, Ganondorf.
Uh-huh.
The Boonshins.
Yeah.
That's basically it. Like, if the Boonshins...
That's basically it.
Yeah.
He's the original Ganondorf is the direct incarnation of demise, of his hatred, not his physical, or not his soul, but his hatred. And then every subsequent incarnation of Ganondorf, Phantom Ganons, Puppet Ganons, all of that are just vessels that he fills over and over and over again.
Dude. So like, as we've spoke about it before, I personally believe, and I know that I saw our good buddy Gabe, which his channel will be linked up in the description as always. Gabe, aka Gabora, is a really good friend of LH, myself, Dan, and also Zoe, Dream Shrine. And Gabe, one of his most recent videos, like, got me to say in the comments, dude, I'm not alone on this. He is like me, he's like you. He thinks that Akka, ancient hero construct aspect, is Sky.
Yep.
And I'm sitting here like, well, out of all possibilities, let's just put the no-brainer one. His body would die. His soul would be bound to the sword. So some people being like, why would Fee's theme show up? Or why would Fee be important? Or blah, blah, blah. Because he would still need to have somewhere to house his soul.
Yep. And if we look at it from a somewhat from a logical standpoint, but from like a speculative standpoint, Sky knew Fi, right? He knew her very closely. They worked together. They saved the world together.
It's almost like Fee got like emotions and wanted to say she loved him as well.
Yeah, And then she went to sleep, and she left him, right? Like she couldn't be with him anymore. She left him to fulfill her duty. He looks pained. He looks very sad. You can tell, like the emotions on his face. He's not happy with that outcome. Now she says, "We will meet again in another life." But if you're that Link, if you're Sky, why would you take the risk of, dying of old age and potentially being reborn when you know for a fact, you've already seen with Zelda as Hylia, there's very specific things you need to do to even awaken your memories from your past life. He would have no recollection of any of that time. He probably didn't want to just go out like that. So he made preparations so that he, as himself, could meet Fi again.
Of anyone who would of anyone who would probably be that last connection between like the surface after Skyward Sword and the sky, as we've talked about it before, not everybody went back home to the surface, basically. Like, nobody knew that there was a surface. As we said before, they thought there was just nothing beneath the clouds. So it was like Zelda, Groose, Crawlin, Stritch, Link, Headmaster Gapora, and I don't know anybody else who went down to the surface at that point to live there.
No one else that we see specifically, no.
So basically any other humans, Sheikah, or anybody else, literally could have been underground, and like Rito could have been in the sky, like the farthest reaches of the sky because it's really big. Zora could have been in the deepest, darkest depths of the waters, and even the Goron's underground. We could then possibly say if there were more humans and Sheikah underground, that's how we get so many people eventually through, like, generations and so on and so forth. But with Sky being that last link, no pun intended, with him being that last link between the surface and the sky, I only imagine he would also be a connection to underground. Mainly because it seems like Akka is going to be waking up in the Room of Awakening that presumably was underground the entire time. Maybe with the Spring of Revival, which is underneath the Temple of Time, Sealed Temple area. You see these connections happening already. And if it's the Spring of Revival, I don't know where else I could go with this, because like it just leads up to Sky is that guy, because it's his first vessel before he can start going into heroes in the future. Which then makes me think that Minoru learned her spirit separation from someone. If it's not
potentially, potentially. I also just had a brain blast about that.
What's up?
If that ancient heroes construct, that aspect, is Sky's soul manifesting and piloting around this construct, and he meets Zelda, and she talks about her knight in the future and how he wields the sword, that might be the key that allows him to finally let go and move on, because then it's like, oh, so I am going to be reborn. I am going to reincarnate.
In a sense, he does, but yeah, exactly that. It's like, not only with what we've seen in the trailers as well, with like, the dude skydiving like he just got off a loft wing or whatever, and him being presumably right-handed at this point, which there's only been two. Well, I mean, Age of Calamity Link is still Breath of the Wild Link / Tears of the Kingdom Link, so I
just going down a different timeline route, but same person.
Exactly, and that's literally it. It's like if Sky is Akka, and this is how he lets go so he can be housed in each hero to give them access to pull Fi, that would also possibly be the explanation why no one else heard her. No other hero heard her voice. It seems like Wild, though, can. Have you?
Wild can.
Yeah.
Yes, he can.
And even Zelda mentioned in the memories, like, can you still hear that sword, the voice within the sword? But she could hear it still. She could still hear Fi. And Fi knows that bloodline connection. Like, hey, that's my other half, technically, if you think about it like that. but that would make sense why she could hear it. Now, my whole thing is, this time frame that we're seeing Akka show up, all of this in Age of Imprisonment is before the Master Sword shows up through that time stream.
Before it gets sent back through the basically gate of time that opens on the altar.
Yeah, and we'll get to the altar of time here too, but like it literally, you sit down and think of the logistics, be like, okay, well, if the sword of the future came to the past at that moment, wouldn't there already be a Master Sword? Yes. Where is it? We don't. Well,
we don't know because we haven't seen it, but we have. You can make a few guesses.
Yeah,
as to where
exactly.
it is.
It's like with Raru's Castle, and again, this one goes all credits to Zoe for this one, because I remember her originally bringing this up last year to us. Raru's Castle, the inside, has a striking similarity to the Sealed Temple.
Yes, it does.
And if that's the case, Raru can't pull the sword. He's not blessed with that gift. So Akka had to. Akka's the one that moved the sword. But, and here's the really interesting thing. Would it still technically be inside of Raru's castle? Just hidden away? What if... And I know that this might be a big what if.
What if?
What if Akka himself, his body of God, I can't believe I'm going to suggest this. What if Akka's body of green, dark blue, whatever, stone, and the spirit flowing within to hold that stone together to make a body? What if that body itself is Fi? Like, I know that doesn't make sense knowing the tapestry, because he would also have to wield the sword, but at the same point, that's spirit connections. He's the spirit warrior. It's almost like, not saying he can make an immediate new version of the Master Sword on a whim, but there's something there. Like, because he wouldn't be able to use the broken Master Sword because that doesn't exist yet. But the actual Master Sword is there, so it could have been sealed with him. Like in the trailer where we saw his body being reconstructed, the sword could have been in that room, just out of view, which means the sword was underground for... Oh.
How would it have gotten underground?
Well, that would be Sky himself. If he's the only one, but then again, he would have to make a brand new pedestal. Like, yeah, I'm looking at this. Like, there's a lot of interesting smaller details that we have to piece together, but there's something there with Akka being Sky, 100%. And all of, like, and this is still going based on the whole pocket dimensions based on the stasis cubes originally, and I guess that other example is that I was going to link up with that, no pun intended, is Hylia's divine plan. The divine plan that had basically two plans enacted at the same time. Originally, we thought that it was just the sword and the reincarnation. Those were the two examples, right? What if the sword and the reincarnation is just one example of the two? And we already went over it, and as you pointed out, and as I pointed out, the sword and Zelda are just two parts of one body. Or one reconstruction. So... Oh god, I really hope I'm not losing my train of thought mid-think. God dang it. So what at that same point, the second part, the backup to her divine plan was literally the goddess of time makes sure that she wins. How does she do that? If we check the Zelda website, or if we check any confirmed media, none of the three timelines connect to Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom. But as you and I know, and as we've pondered together, and as I have here, this is what I call the Phi timeline, based on the 21st letter of the Greek alphabet. And the reason why I say this is, what if none of the three timelines go through a calamitous wall of convergence leaking back into one like we see in Loki? Let me actually, for ease for the audience, I'll pull up the salad scene from Loki to show everyone where I'm going with this. Where I my original thought was, in a couple of my theories back in the day, that we saw a convergence wall similar to Loki. So I'll go ahead and play this real quick.
Found something.
No, it said don't bother me until you read all the files.
I have.
Every file.
Yes.
Pertaining to the variant.
The answer isn't in the files, it's on the timeline. He's hiding in apocalypses.
Which apocalypse? Any time in history, there's like a million of them.
Ragnarok. Are you familiar?
Yes, the destruction of Asgard and most of its people. I'm sorry.
Yes. Very sad. Anyway, it got me thinking.
Go ahead.
Nexus events happen when someone does something they're not supposed to do, right?
Well, it's a little more complicated, but yeah.
Great. And then that thing they're not supposed to do cascades into a whole range of other things that aren't supposed to happen, and so on and so forth, until eventually a new timeline branches. Yes?
Chaotic alterations of a predetermined outcome.
Exactly. So, let's just say
What are you doing?
your salad is Asgard.
No,
in this scenario.
it's not Asgard. That's
it's
my
a metaphor.
lunch.
Just hang in there.
I want that
And
salad.
I could go down to Asgard before Ragnarok causes its complete destruction, and I could do anything I wanted. I could, let's say, push the Hulk off the Rainbow Bridge. There he goes.
The salt's Hulk.
And I could also set fire to the palace.
No, just stop. Don't set fire
Okay.
to the palace.
I can do whatever I want to do, and it would never matter. It wouldn't go against the dictates of the timeline, because... Excuse me?
Oh, God.
You. Nice to see you. I just need this for a second. Because the apocalypse is coming. Ragnarok. Surtur will destroy Asgard no matter what I do.
No, don't do...
There's the apocalypse.
That's the apocalypse?
Ragnarok obliterates the salt. Ragnarok. There it is.
What am I looking at?
Okay, it was a clumsy metaphor, but you see what I mean. It doesn't matter. It could be any apocalypse. It could be a tidal wave, it could be a meteor, it could be a volcano, a supernova. If everything and everyone around you is destined for imminent destruction, then nothing that I say or do will matter. Because the timeline's not going to branch. Because it gets destroyed. Hence, the variant could be hiding in the apocalypse and do whatever he wants, and we wouldn't know.
There you go. That's it. When I saw that episode when it first aired a few years back, I'm like, oh my god, that's it. That's how you fix Zelda.
That's how you do it.
Predetermined outcomes based on... Oh god, what was it? Predetermined outcomes based on chaotic alterations. Like, and when you think about that, what are the chaotic alterations? Well, that would be the Ocarina of Time splits. Child, downfall, and adult. Right. And though they don't technically all three lead into Breath of the Wild and all that, they also do. Like, they somehow are both important to the backstory of modern day, aka Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, Hyrule, but also of ease of access. Nintendo has also said it doesn't connect to the previous three, but it is still canon to the overall timeline. Flash forward to this year, we get the Age of Imprisonment trailers, and they say it's going to be canon. That is the predetermined part. Everything that happens after Age of Imprisonment, yes, is canon. But those are the chaotic alterations of a predetermined outcome. So what's this predetermined outcome? Hylia's backup plan. The far-off future that would house the first great calamity after Ganondorf's men sealed. So, to think of it in this way, we've got the creation of everything, the sealing of Null. We've got evil appearing, which is the first Demon King demise. The surface is resettled after he's been, destroyed and... Exactly. The Interloper War happens afterwards. Presumably before that, the Zonai appeared leading into the Interloper War, but we can call that the whole Interloper War Chaos era. After which, the kingdom is established. Hyrule Kingdom is finally established for the first time. The rise of the second Demon King Ganondorf, or the reincarnated form of Demise's hatred, which would not affect the biology of the man, but the aspects of the man, as I've always seen it. Like, the flesh and blood would not be the curse, but the makeup within that flesh and blood is the curse,
Yeah.
I've always been on the fact of, or the mindset of, if Ganondorf Dragmire was just Ganondorf Dragmire, he wouldn't be a bad guy. He'd be like a king of the Gerudo. Kind of like how Riju and Urbosa were the queens. And I would always love to see that happen, where the curse aspect is vanquished and he's given, some kind of second chance, but I don't think we'll ever see that. Then immediately we get into this ancient past era. Zelda of the Future appears. Now, this is during the time of Age of Imprisonment, and she doesn't exist yet. So this girl from the far-off, immediate, distant future, eons ahead, shows up in this ancient era, and everybody's like, who's this? This is what Sonia's people will eventually become, through their bloodline, fused with Rauru. So this is our eventual descendant. Yes. So we can confirm that, because of us, she exists. Yes. Okay. Hard stop. We haven't even gotten into, Minish Cap or anything yet. And we can confirm Zelda of the Wilds, the far distant future, does exist. So that's already the two bookends of the timeline. The very ancient past and the modern day, right?
Yeah.
They are established as connected, and it seems like it's through Zelda of the Wilds, which, again, can be interpreted through this green circle. That right there is that connection between the ancient past and the modern day. But what about everything that happens in between? The splits, Ocarina of Time, all of this stuff, the war for all... That still happens. But they're chaotic alterations of predetermined outcome. Well, that doesn't make sense. Well, then I guess you think the downfall timeline doesn't make sense. The old timeline from Minish Cap to Zelda 2, Spirit Tracks, and Four Sword Adventures has now become that. Like, the loop that leads to this and back and would not contradict what Nintendo has already stated, and have, as you shown, a more linear timeline with alternate events being self-contained within the middle, but they don't go too far into depth. As we put it, Ganon is revived many times, causing calamities, and this would be Mandrag Ganon, Dark Beast Ganon, through the malice via the boonshins created by Ganondorf, trapped underground. And so, Zelda of the Future appears, Ganondorf is sealed away, the Master Sword of the Future appears, and Zelda draconifies herself to heal the Master Sword. As Zelda is above the skies for all of time to come, she's also within these 3 different timeline splits after Ocarina of Time, and
That she's from before.
and it's one of those things of like, whether or not these 3 timelines eventually lead into Breath of the Wild, they still do, because Zelda's been flying above the sky. So there's always been, I guess you could say, a 4th timeline without it being established as a 4th or 5th timeline. It's a loop to contain everything within it. And so what we have... Say what?
I said it's a loop.
Exactly. And so you have all of like the downfall of the child and the adult timeline self-contained inside, which is the multiple calamities after the first calamity of Ocarina of Time. But then eventually the Sheikah gets smart and they prepare for the calamity. The Great Calamity happens. During that time, the offshoot where Terra coexists through Age of Calamity also happens within this loop. And then we have, Breath of the Wild, where the calamity stopped, all the way down to Ganondorf Dragmire is revived, Zelda and the Master Sword are sent to the past, oh boy, Zelda the Future appears, and then we go back into that. Zelda... Oh wait, no, I gotta go to here. Zelda draconifies herself to heal the Master Sword. Coming back...
Makes the long, slow journey into the future.
Yep. Zelda the Light Dragon reappears with the Master Sword at the same time that you just sent it back. So, from the time Zelda shows up in the ancient past, all the way till you send it to her, so it can show up in the ancient past, this loop not only reflects like Zelda's journey, but also reflects the Master Sword. This loop is Hylia. Both aspects that make Hylia, the sword and the Goddess Reborn, are the only things that went through time, back, and forward. And you sit here like, oh, fuck me. Yeah. Here's the key aspect, though. That means, from Age of Imprisonment, the very end, when Zelda draconifies, all the way to the moment that you send her that sword, there's always been 2 swords at the same time. Always. One protected with Zelda above the sky, above the clouds, and one on the surface. The one on the surface, though,
and it's all just the same sword, but at different moments in its own history.
Exactly. And then knowing this, Ganondorf the Demon Dragon is destroyed, finally killed, and we could finally have a Hyrulean Renaissance, where we now see, like, what's next for Hyrule. Because the only time we'd see Ganondorf come back is within the loop. Ganondorf could literally run free forevermore in the adult, well, not the adult timeline, he's fucking killed. He's hard dead in that one.
He's dead.
It's like
D-E-D, dead.
It's like when we see that example of Ganondorf being like actually 100% dead in any of the 3 previous timelines. Adult timeline is the one that sticks out because he got washed away with the sword and the kingdom. So all 3 aspects of prior Hyrule are forever gone. Right. So is the same with current day. The sword is here, The goddess reborn is here and the kingdom is here, but the man himself, Ganondorf Dragmire, the reincarnation of Demise, is dead, giving a similar notion to the adult timeline. Ganondorf Dragmire could literally just run free in the Calamity timeline, the Child timeline, or the Downfall. But he can't run free in the Downfall because, again, he gave up his own mortality to become Mandrag Ganon. So then it's down to what? Calamity and Child? Yeah. Those are the only two he could show up in.
Wild.
Breath of the Wild.
Absolutely. Yeah,
But
absolute fucking wild, man.
But that's the inner workings when it comes to that. Like that until Nintendo outright says like this, the fee or the loop timeline idea is actually real. I'm just gonna hold on to this because I think out of anything so far that Nintendo has shown, this might be that way forward.
Now, I want to pause. I want to pause you for a second here, and I want you to just take it in for a moment.
What's up?
This is your baby here, your theory. You were talking about how it represents Hylia.
Yep.
Right? What is the Greek letter?
Exactly my point. It's fee. Phi, fee, fo, fum. But
and what did we say earlier?
oh my god, yes, the sword is the spirit, but the body is the blood, and it's just you sit here and you're like, yeah, that's it. It's like those are the only two aspects that went through it, but like you're on the nose with it. You're seeing what I'm saying, you know? It's like as we've put with like the Loki salad scene, it's like the alterations are the timeline split, and then they're literal 3-2 comes that will never get solved, because like whether it's on a new continent or a destroyed ruined kingdom or a kingdom that will forever expand and so on because it got its second chance to kill all argument, none of those three become Breath of the Wild, but they all become Breath of the Wild. How? Because there wasn't a split, there was a reconnection. And because Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom was Hylia's backup plan. Oh shit! Yeah, oh shit. Like, oh man.
So it's all the other timeline branches are just the salt getting added to the salad. The salad's still going to end the way it ends regardless.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like, I'll show this. I call it the Gods of Time. It's an upload from myself. It's literally taking that aspect of Zelda from the Wilds and Tears did what Loki did. Now, granted, Zelda was not outside of space-time's reaches itself. She was within it. She's the goddess reborn of time. She can manipulate time, and at this certain point of time, the first establishment of the kingdom, that's your best bet to fix everything before it even splits. And so, have we seen something with Loki? Yeah, he got pulled outside of space-time, but he was able to mend it again. Just like Zelda.
What's happening?
I finally learned to control the time slipping. I'm out of options, Sylvie. I've tried everything.
There are stories about the secret stones and a forbidden act
If there's a hope that you can replace that thing with something better.
called draconification. To swallow a secret stone is to become an immortal dragon.
I know what kind of god I need to be for you. For all of us.
No!
My father explained it to me like this, that your world is one of the realms of the cosmos, linked to each other by the branches of Yggdrasil. I am Loki, and I am burdened with glorious purpose.
All this Loki desires a throne.
The last thing I want is a throne.
I can rewrite the story. Linked to each other by the branches of Yggdrasil.
So, the important bit on that is, what is that correlation between Loki and Zelda? Zelda, from the far-off future, that does not...
She's from... Yeah, I was just gonna say, she's from a future, right? So, whatever the past was that led to her in the present, she has confirmed it. She affirms that it exists when she goes into the past, because she already has to go into the past.
Yep.
She is the reason everything exists. She is the reason she exists. She's the reason that
all self-contained...
the entire... Yeah.
Yeah, it... Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. That's I'm just wowed by it, because even though we've talked about it before, it still just blows my freaking mind.
I'll do you one better. People have asked, is Loki the same one that gets killed by Thanos in what? Infinity War? The same that's the same Loki that shows up in Thor 3. Yeah, sure. Is that Loki the same one from the Loki show? No.
Nope.
That Loki that you see in those movies, that is just a variant, as they put in the show. The Loki you see in the show is the one that got imprisoned during Avengers 1. So this is before all of the time travel... travel with a B? What? All of the time travel and all the manipulation you saw later down the line, and all the fracturing of time. But literally from Avengers 1 and all the way before that, with Captain America being the very start of it, you kind of sit here and be like, okay, well, there was no time travel from those forward, but to those points, right? We could even further back that up with Steve Rogers not fulfilling his purpose to triumph back to the future like he wanted, like he was supposed to, but as he wanted to by being an old man. If we look at it like that, what does that Loki have that's so important? He's the Loki that exists before the time fracturings. Okay. He was sent to an area outside of space-time. Neither future, present, past, or so on, but in this outside of space-time area, it still follows a somewhat linear pattern, because with the timekeepers and so on, a new creator of the TVA is established when all of existence gets rebooted into the Great Rebang in the show. Okay, cool. Even though that sounds like gobbledygook, why does that make sense? Because Loki exists originally in this purple. Loki that we see in Season 2 is of this blue. And all the Lokis that you see in the other movies are within this tight knot. So what's this green? That's when Loki sat down and made Yggdrasil, taking all of the ties of time. Each one of those threads you saw were the different timelines. He took all of time and wielded it in his hands to fuse them back together into the world tree Yggdrasil. Like Zelda becoming the Light Dragon.
Wow.
It's...
Wow.
It's like, if you want even more on that, like, let me show you something from Day of the Doctor. Would you want the original Day of the Doctor version, or would you want my version that I made?
Let's do yours.
All right.
I like yours.
All right.
Let's do yours.
Sweet. Let's do that. I'll still have it open just for a comparison, just in case. But we can kind of get the same thing, even though I'll get to that here in a moment. But as I'm looking for this, you wanna expand on this thread, my dude?
Oh jeez. My mind is melting.
Your mind is...
It is imploding.
Oh man. Oh man. With Day of the Doctor, and we'll show it in a Zelda example, and then I'll probably show not the whole thing, but just bits and pieces of it, you know, from the original. Here is Day of the Hero, a fan-made concept of a mix of Doctor Who and Zelda, basically. In this, we're going to take this example of both Loki and Light Dragon Zelda, and we'll connect it to Doctor Who as well. Just like how I put the example of the stasis cubes, we can also see the same example of what we see with Zelda and Loki.
Another one. Are you sure the message is from him? Oh yes. Why would he do that? What's the mad fool talking about now?
Hello. Gallifrey High Command. This is the Doctor speaking. Hello. Also the Doctor. Can you hear me?
Also the Doctor. Standing ready.
Dear God, 3 of them. All my worst nightmares at once.
General, we have a plan.
We should point out at this moment it is a fairly terrible plan.
And almost certainly won't work. I was happy with fairly terrible. Sorry, just thinking out loud.
We're flying our 3 TARDISes into your lower atmosphere.
We're positioned at equidistant intervals around the globe.
Equidistant, so grown up.
Just about ready to do it. Ready to do what?
We're going to freeze Gallifrey.
I'm sorry. What?
Using our TARDISes, we're going to freeze Gallifrey in a single moment in time.
You know, like those stasis cubes? Single moment in time held in a parallel pocket universe.
Except we're going to do it to a whole planet.
And all the people on it.
What? Even if that were possible, which it isn't. Why would you do such a thing?
Because the alternative is burning.
And I've seen that.
And I never want to see it again.
We'd be lost in another universe. Frozen in a single moment. We'd have nothing.
You would have hope. And right now, that is exactly what you don't have.
It's delusional. The calculations alone would take hundreds of years.
Oh, hundreds and hundreds,
But don't worry. I started a very long time ago.
Calling the War Council of Gallifrey. This is the Doctor.
you might say I've been doing this all my lives.
Good luck. Stand by. Ready. Commencing calculations. Zoom me there.
Across the boundaries that divide one universe from another.
Got to lock onto his coordinates.
And for my next trick, I didn't know when I was well off. All 12 of them. No, sir.
There he is.
All 13.
Oh.
Sir, the Daleks know that something is happening. They're increasing their firepower. Do it, Doctor. Just do it.
Do it.
Okay. Gentlemen, we're ready.
For God's sake, Gallifrey stands!
Yeah, that would literally be the okay. So,
Okay. All right.
so, it's all of so with Doctor Who in that aspect. When we see it in that aspect in Zelda, with all of the heroes uniting, that they're bound to one shared soul, the hero of Sky. But as I put there, which I'll give the actual Doctor Who example here in a bit, which I'll start at. Fuck it, I'll do the 101 example. It's every single hero bound together. And 13 being the hero aspect, also Sky, that's the first vessel. That's the first vessel Sky could use before any of the heroes. I guess what I'm trying to get at is, not only with this pocket universe would it self-contain Gallifrey, and in the same aspect with, like, Loki, this pocket universe that he's in, which is outside of space-time, holding all of space-time in his hands to make sure that space-time is mended no matter what fucking timeline you go forward. He's the reason why it comes together. Zelda is the reason why space-time is bound no matter what timeline happens. Why is this important? In Doctor Who, each episode starts with that wormhole.
Yes.
TARDIS flying through the wormhole, and then you got that freeze frame midway where it goes from one side to the other side, and you're going through the wormhole again. It's because that is the example. That is the example of that loop that we see in Zelda. This loop is literally created from a far-off future that hasn't happened yet, but will still happen, based on the predetermined aspects that already happened, and Zelda and the Sword being the green loop pieces that fit it all together. So, how does this fit in a Doctor Who aspect? As shown with Day of the Doctor, my little fan video kind of thing was literally kind of like how Conrad and Rinkudo put in their theory a few years back of the Gate of Time and all heroes coming together to kick Ganondorf's ass. I had a similar idea on that around the same time they released it, I just never knew how to hook it together. And it's literally this. It's like the hero in all forms and shapes and fashions, bound by this one spirit, all coming together. We didn't see that. We saw it in Doctor Who, and we did see it with Zelda herself as the Light Dragon. What is this that I'm talking about? And it is mending time before it breaks, so that all chaotic alterations and predetermined outcomes will still happen and are still true based on a previous existence. But in this previous existence, so too are these chaotic outcomes and splits, so too is the new existence. They are all connected because of this loop that has all the chaos within it. In Doctor Who, that's all of the doctors coming together to save Gallifrey, and in thus saving Gallifrey, putting it in a pocket dimension, they've created the Big Bang. So, I will fast forward to about here.
We'd have nothing.
You would have hope. And right now, that is exactly what you don't have.
It's delusional. The calculations alone would take hundreds of years.
Oh, hundreds and hundreds, but don't worry. I started a very long time ago.
Calling the War Council of Gallifrey. This is the Doctor.
You might say, I've been doing this all my lives.
Good luck.
Stand by.
Ready. Commencing calculations.
Turn me there.
Cross the boundaries that divide one universe from another. Got to lock onto his coordinates. And for my next trick,
I didn't know when I was well off. All 12 of them. No, sir. Ah! All 13! Sir! The Daleks know that something is happening. They're increasing their firepower. Do it, Doctor. Just do it.
do it.
Okay. Gentlemen, we're ready.
For God's sake, Gallifrey stands!
And that right there, that was the destruction of not Gallifrey. That was the destruction of all of the Daleks, as it's been shown.
Daleks, yeah.
Because in so many episodes of Doctor Who, they say, well, how are the Daleks back if they were all wiped out in the past? That event of wiping out all of the Daleks was the Big Bang that created, like, the Milky Way galaxy and us. But Gallifrey was saved, and the Doctor was always led on this thing that he was a coward because he was afraid he killed his people, but didn't realize, oh my god, I saved them. And the reason why he doesn't realize it is because through each regeneration, he still needs to go back and fulfill that promise. You see it with every single intro of Doctor Who, the TARDIS is flying through a wormhole. It's that. Day of the Doctor is that wormhole at the beginning of each episode. The Doctor's still fulfilling his promise, even if he doesn't realize he's doing it.
Wow.
The spirit of the hero doing a similar notion. And in this case, Zelda being like the stasis cubes and the Big Bang at the same time of Day of the Doctor to make sure that it all happens in the future. It's all highly his divine plan, you know? So, going with this, my lord, I didn't think that we'd be wrapped up on just that, but we also have these other aspects of time, right? As you sent to me, I'll play it for the lovely people at home, I want to get into this new aspect, the second aspect that does technically chain off of this. If we were to assume that the three previous timelines could be connected through some unknown convergence within the loop, you would need some kind of form of time travel. And you would need some form of time travel that could link up before these splits happen in Ocarina. You would need some way to have all three splits come to one of either a person, an item, etc. existing in all three at the same time. Immediately, the first thing is Zelda White Dragon with the Master Sword in her skull. Okay, that's easy. But what about the Gate of Time?
Well, Oaf, do we have a Gate of Time in Tears of the Kingdom?
I love that you asked that, LH. I have this thing from you, my dude, and it's from the Zelda notes in Tears of the Kingdom. This is Rauru on the Altar of Time. I'll just play this real quick.
This altar is considered the most holy place in the temple, and it is where we give offerings as part of our prayers for a bountiful, peaceful world. I have heard ancient legends that it could interact with a sacred power, allowing travel back and forth through time. Though, how this was done is a mystery to me.
Alright, so
that sounds like a freaking Gate of Time to me, bud.
It does, and that's the thing. When I saw those notes and I hit y'all up, I'm like, yo, is the Altar of Time the fabled and lost third Gate of Time we never saw? And I love when you responded with, you know, and I'm like, oh crap. so let me go into the minutia of that. We go all the way back to the ancient eras of Skyward Sword, you know? And it's funny, because in this ancient era of Skyward Sword, there were two at one point. There was the one in Faron, and then there was the one in Lanayru. And then there was the Fire Temple at the very top of the Elton Mountains that it depicted those two, which means the people of the mountains knew about this gate, which could possibly mean that, and this is me doing my best on this, it's the Rito. Why and how in ever good loving hell could that be the Rito? Let me explain. So in this ancient time of Hylia, before Demise emerged, we had, of course, the humans that would become both Hylian and Zonai in the future, as well as, like, the Wind Tribe and Oka, these ancient humans became like basically almost everyone.
Yeah, they're like the root stock.
Exactly. There's also the Sheikah of this time. Presumably the Gorons are underground, the Zora are deep underneath the ocean, Pirella are in the fresh water, all this. And we have a Gate of Time in Hylia's court that connects to the other Gate of Time, assumed, not confirmed, but assumed through many years of theories and friends, that the Gate of Time could connect to the Temple of Time in Lanayru. Now, I will hard stop and say right now what I believe. The Temple of Time in that ancient era is not the Temple of Time. And you and I have talked about this in the previous episodes. This Temple of...
We don't believe that it is the same Temple of Time we see later on in the series.
Exactly.
From a chronological standpoint. It's like a precursor. It's one that existed prior.
Right. If anything, it was... The Temple of Time in Lanayru, that was a train station. So, what I mean by that is, you select your destination, you go through the Temple of Time, and let's say you want to go visit Hylia for your wanting to give graces before coming back home. You go to the sealed grounds via the Temple of Time traversal from Lanayru to Faron, or middle of the three, technically. And then you sit here like, okay, so then that could also be how people went from Faron to Lanayru for work, and how you could connect the train systems, the water systems, through the ease of access of delivery through the Gate of Time. Okay, cool. And that's just those two. So why does Eldon stand out like a sore thumb, LH? Well, I'll give you this answer.
Why indeed?
There's this fire temple at the top that depicts these two gates of times inside of a court of birds. I believe the Rito are also part of these ancient people. And then people will be like, but didn't the Rito evolve from the Zora? Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you got me there. Hey, that was established between Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker, yeah? Yeah, okay, cool. Rito and Zora cohabit the Earth at the time of Age of Imprisonment, which is way before Minish Cap. So that's before the Ocarina of Split. That's before the evolution right there. They cohabited the same time space. Like humans and monkeys, And
or anything else.
Exactly. So when Demise reared his ugly head, what happened to the people at the surface? Not all of them survived. Some of them flee, some of them died. And some of them were saved by Hylia. But the ones saved by Hylia, that was just a small faction. Okay. A lot of people died. Sure. A lot of people went into hiding. Why? Well, the Gorons already lived underground. But they also were within Hylia's court, as we see in the intro to Skyward Sword. The Goron Elder of that time probably helped the humans at Sheikah establish some kind of hiding underground. Fire Temple, underneath the ground, right? But what about the Fire Sanctuary on the peaks? That was owned by the Rito. The Rito did not want to stick around. The Rito weren't part of Hylia's court, like how the Sheikah weren't part of Hylia's court. They were part of strong connections and divinity, but to be, like, part of Hylia's court, that was only the Pirella, the Goron, the Magma, the robots, and the Kikwi. There was no Zora of the court, there were no Rito of the court, there were no Koroks of the court. So what happens in this instance? Demise rears his ugly head. Zora go even deeper into the darkest reaches of the water, can't be seen for, the perceivable future until, like, Ocarina of Time. The Rito take everything that they need from their fire sanctuary on the peaks of, the Elden Mountains, and choose to flee. They take all of their possessions, all of their holy artifacts, and get onto their airship, the Stormwind Ark. As they do so,
fly away.
and they fly away carrying a third Gate of Time in its slab form, similar to what we see with the second Gate of Time in Faron. The thing is, though, when it's in that slab form, you can't traverse through time. It's in like a safety feature. Okay, cool. You could easily just store that on the Stormwind Arc in the cargo, and then when the Rito come back during the time of, let's say, the Establishment and Rauru, they gift this third Gate of Time slab and call it the Time Altar. We see even further proof with Zelda showing up at the time that the Master Sword's about to show up, but the Master Sword only going through because it calls to Zelda. That golden light existed before Zelda showed up at that area, but also before Link showed up. That golden light, I don't know if you noticed through the actual timing of the game and through the time, Zelda didn't summon that golden light, the sword didn't summon that golden light. That golden light above the Time Altar summoned itself. That right there, Time Altar is the Gate of Time. That's our third gate.
Gate that connects.
Exactly.
Everything.
You're exactly right. It's like, oh God. With the Gate of Time, we see, going back and forth in time. However, the last time we saw the second Gate of Time being used before it fizzled away out of existence, it was to send everyone forward. And then it disappeared. This Gate of Time sent the sword backwards. And then disappeared. That... I think the reason why Rauru, even though he doesn't really know much about it, things can travel backwards and forth with sacred power, it's got to be that third Gate of Time, the fabled one that we've speculated for years, And it's the thing of, as well, I would also possibly say with the Gates of Time, they're also a way to enter the afterlife, like the final resting. We see it with Minoru. She thanks everyone for helping out and fulfilling her own personal destiny. After her body died and her spirit lived within the Purapad in her steward construct, and then back inside of a machine that she made, her soul can now fade away. Like King Rome Bosphoramus, the 4 champions, the 4 sages, Rauru, and Sonia. But her soul fades away at the Altar of Time.
Yeah, she brought them all there.
Mm-hmm. It's...
And then she gave her parting words, and then she disappeared.
Exactly. And I mean, hell, I could go even more in depth with this, but like, I showed it with episode 1 of DSP, with the whole Gate of Time being summoned when it's leaving its slab form, Skyward Sword. You already know where I'm going with this. The Gate of Time is quite literally one of those things that just grinds my gears, and for it to be gears itself, that's also funny. Gate of Time, Skyward Sword. Gate of Time, It Takes Two. What? Never played It Takes Two. So, second Gate of Time. Oh, god damn it, I don't care about your ad. So basically, before we get into this, it's an audio cue. It's an audio cue that, again, could link up both the Altar of Time as the Gate of Time, as well as visually seeing the Gate of Time before its gate form. The slab, if you put that down on its back and then gave it the erosion through time, that's got to be an altar at that point.
Yeah, it looks really similar.
It do. Like, I'm not saying it is 100%, but like in my best case scenario, like, dude. But I'll do this. Right here. As I've shown in episode 1, that whole tick 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 ting. That what is that? What is that?
We hear that. We hear that when the sword, the decayed Master Sword, is put into the light, and it's traveling back through time to Zelda.
Exactly. We hear it there. I actually wasn't gonna say that, but that's exactly true. Like, here's the moment Zelda shows up because she senses this golden light, which in the very far off future, her original time period, Link is also walking up because he sees the light. This light was summoned on its own. And through this light, as you just put, and as we'll see, the Master Sword, the decayed one, shows up.
It interacts with her secret stone.
Master Sword. How is the Master Sword? You're telling me that Link is safe? You traveled through time to find me and recover your strength.
Zelda, I believe there is a reason you were sent to us. It has to mean something.
Yeah. It's to literally make sure that she mends time before it splits. That's why you were sent back to us.
Yeah. I didn't hear the ticking as well there as I know from the other scene that reflects it.
So that's exactly it. This scene is shown twice. It's literally the one where Link sends the sword to her, which is the other side of this. That's not one of the memories, sadly. That's just...
No, it's not one of the memories, so it's not going to be in this
right
play.
However, though, there is one memory that does have that ticking. Let me go to...
When...
Here we go.
When Sonya uses recall?
Yep, exactly. You know what? For all we know, behind this stained glass, the Master Sword could literally be behind that. You know? Behind the thrones.
Oh. Yeah, you know what? That whole wall there almost looks like a big door.
It do. And you know what? Look at the design. Like, I'm not saying like this whole design's supposed to be the sword, but there's almost a sword motif within this stained glass.
It's like the sword and the Hylian crest, like the one that we saw on the Gate of Time and in the Temple of Time.
I see it, dude. Like, Rauru may have accidentally walled it up. Here it is. That right there, the tick, 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 ting, that is the Gate of Time. That right there.
Time powers activated.
That's literally, yeah, time powers activated. I think that, yeah, that would be it. And then I go back to here, to Gate of Time Skyward Sword, and I'll just go all the way up to, where is it? There. Yeah. It's like, plus as you pointed out, Sonya being the first eventual descendant of Sky herself, and then Zelda of the Wilds and Tears being the eventual descendant of not just Sonya, but of Sky herself. You sit here and you're like, there's gotta have been a third gate that whole time. And if Rauru made the Temple of Time not only to seal off the Sacred Realm because of the acts of the Interloper Ward, he could have also made that that temple in respect of his wife Sonya.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me think, okay, what if we also take into effect, it's also a giant belfry, and it's the bell that rings every morning and night. We don't see that bell.
7 o'clock sharp.
Exactly, but we don't see that bell. It's presumably within the big chunk that makes up a majority of the temple. What if the ancient hero construct aspect and the Master Sword itself are within one of those chambers as well?
Interesting.
Because I also want to throw in there, if that's the case, Rauru wouldn't have been able to place it. It would have been Akka, and I would be willing to throw my hat in the ring to say Akka, the ancient hero construct aspect, is the one that taught Minoru how to do soul separation. Because if Sky, Akka, was taught soul separation, he would have needed to learn it from someone he knew. Of anyone in Skyward Sword, do you think there's anyone who could have started this whole soul separation technique?
I don't know.
I do.
You do.
The soul separation technique started from Fi. Now,
go on.
Go on. Now I find it funny how we talked about earlier the blood, the physical aspect. Zelda, the soul.
Yeah.
Spiritual aspect. Fi. If Fi is that spirit, she's bound to the sword, which is her body. But yet we don't see the sword turn into Fi. We see Fi come out of the sword. The sword spirit within the sword comes out of the sword, separating her spirit from her body. And we see that most happen in the presence of Sky, who I and you and Gabe and many others do believe Sky is the Akka. If that's the case, why not teach that to Minoru? But wait, Rauru didn't place the Master Sword into the Temple of Time. It could have only been Akka. Right, but let's not forget Minoru's the older one. Minoru probably learned a thing or two before even Rauru got to learn it. And if Rauru doesn't know about the sword, when it comes to Minoru,
I wonder if Rauru does know about the sword, at least in the sense of he knows that there is a sword, but doesn't know what it is for or what it can do.
Right, and if we think about it in the aspect of like in-game universe, Rauru didn't see the sword until it appeared. Well, actually, no, he never saw the sword. He never saw the sword appear. It was only Minoru. Oh.
So if it had shown up before, he'd have been like, "Oh, I know where that is."
yeah, Akka could have been woken up before Ganondorf was sealed. But that's why I think Ganondorf was sealed by Rauru, and then Akka shows up. Well, Akka shows up in the trailers. Cool. But does Akka show up after Ganondorf's sealed? Which then goes back into my original thing of, hey, that's the tapestry then. But I'm not going to get into that again. What I'm going to get into is like, with Akka himself, he is this physical body of metal that is fueled by a spirit that goes between the pieces to fuel the body, like how Minoru does with her aspect, with her construct. So Minoru had to learn it from someone, more than likely Akka himself. And Akka, Sky, probably learned it from Fi. So inadvertently, Minoru learned it from Fi, the Master Sword. Now here's the next thing. If Rauru knew about the Master Sword, amazing. But Zelda never asked Rauru if he knew it, nor did she actually go in depth about the Master Sword. She talked about Link, a famous swordsman who she admired from her time, and that's it. She never talked about the sword.
No, she didn't.
And
really say much about it, other than the fact that she gives it the title, the sword that seals the darkness, or in Japanese, the Taima no Tsurugi, which is the sword that banishes evil, or blade of evil's bane, as we would call it here in the West. She doesn't say Master Sword. She doesn't say, like, she doesn't describe it. She just says that it's a thing that her hero has used.
Exactly, and if she gave it one of the legendary titles and Rauru heard that title, we're so far in the ancient past that the only major events that happened before this was the Interloper War and Skyward Sword. And even then, by Rauru's time, records are written but not as well documented as they would become, which goes back into the aspect of, to the victor go the spoil. Got a couple more clips for that. So today I don't have as many graphics, but I do have correlations when it comes to other sources of media. So the first one is from Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the original. Not the remake in 2022, which I've fallen out of Call of Duty, like, because of the 2022 reboot. I won't get into it. But when it comes to the original from 2009, and the original Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1 in 2007, and Modern Warfare 3 in 2011. There was one major bad guy that worked behind the scenes in the first one you never saw. He became the main bad guy of the second and third game, Vladimir Makarov. There was a secondary villain, U.S. General Shepard, who also tied these strings, even though he wanted Makarov dead as well. You come to find out it was all greed and self-centered intentions. People wanted to make sure that they manipulated all aspects of the world so they can manipulate the future.
We are the most powerful military force in the history of man. Every fight is our fight. Because what happens over here matters over there. We don't get to sit one out. Learning to use the tools of modern warfare is the difference between the prospering of your people and utter destruction. We can't give you freedom, but we can give you the know-how to acquire it. And that, my friends, is worth more than a whole army base of steel. Sure, it matters who's got the biggest stick, but it matters a hell of a lot more who's swinging it. This is a time for heroes, a time for legends. History is written by the victors. Let's get to work.
So that's the first one. I do have a second one here and a third one, and I will quickly go over how this correlates with Zelda and why this is wrapped up with all this. Because of the ancient era that happened after Skyward Sword leading up to Age of Imprisonment, you know, the establishment of Hyrule, Robert's, era. I'm just trying to find one more part to this because it's actually a third link that I had. I have it here, so I'll show the second one. I'll show the second one.
While you look.
Oh, I already have it. I already have it on the other screen. So I do have it prepared. So with what Shepard said is, we can't give you the tools, but we can give you the knowledge. And history is written by the victor. To explain more on this is the other villain, Vladimir Makarov. He literally says history is written by the victory, but history is also full of deceit and liars. Before I go into this, though, please expand what you were going on with, my dude. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, I was going to share a quote.
Yes, please.
So, this comes from Zelda Encyclopedia, but specifically translated from Japanese because I've been able to translate a few pieces with the help of Zoe.
Hey.
So, page 11 in the Japanese Encyclopedia, we learn a bit about Hyrule Kingdom. So, because of the faithful people, the world saw a lasting peace. The Triforce was protected by the priests, and with its divine protection, this beautiful, rich, and prosperous land became known as the Land of the Gods. But monsters and cruel individuals set their sights on the Triforce, and fighting began to unfold. And so, the noble lineage of the goddess Hylia became monarchs and founded the kingdom of Hyrule in order to control the situation. But the kingdom has often been menaced by demons who brought repeated prosperity as well as decline. This gave rise to a dark history where the people endured periods of strife and religious oppression. This spawned many diverse myths and traditions, spinning a history where it withdrew into a little kingdom, and even a history where it broke free from the curse of the past and a new Hyrule kingdom was founded.
Exactly.
So that part at the end refers to the new kingdom of Hyrule from Spirit Tracks. The one prior was talking about, the Legend of Zelda and Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link.
Mm-hmm.
But what it's saying is the kingdom of Hyrule was founded specifically to control the situation that was unfolding, which was the world was in chaos because people were fighting over the sacred power that was kept there.
Exactly.
And because of that, because of the prosperity and the decline that's followed and all of the warring and fighting that has gone on since then, there have been times of strife and there have been times of oppression. So to the victor go the spoils, and to the victor history is written.
Exactly. And that perfectly describes literally this point. This point can be first brought up with question. If all of these events are true before Raru's kingdom is established, before Age of Imprisonment, but after the Interloper War, I do get questions on my videos personally of, Oaf, why do you believe that Age of Imprisonment is not only the middle point of this loop? Why do you believe that this is the reason Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom is connected? And why do you believe that this is not only the first establishment, but after the Interloper War? I literally sit there, I'm like, given the context clues of great fighting of the establishment of the Sacred Realm and the Triforce, you would first need access into the Sacred Realm and Triforce. Seemingly, the Secret Stones have a very similar aspect of unlocking the Sacred Realm or having divinity similar to that, as we've seen with the notes, as you've shared. And in one way or another, as we've theorized, the Interloper War could have actually been lasting maybe hundreds of years and originated in the sky between Zonai versus Zonai. In thus doing so, it causes a great disaster in the sky, whether it links up to mining or famine or just war itself, from the Secret Stones' discovery. Through these Secret Stones, they're now like, well, these are gifts from Hylia that we can access the realm that the Triforce is at. Interloper War happens, the people come down to the surface as depicted as the murals did in Tears of the Kingdom, but not only that, the Interloper War happens. It's not just a war with the Sacred Realm and the Triforce, but also the Secret Stones. As you pointed out, there were priests in charge of these, in charge of protecting the Triforce during this chaotic period, which I can only imagine are the Dragon Priests. The armor you get in Tears of the Kingdom at the 3 springs that reflect the 3 dragons, I do believe that those pieces were worn by 3 dragon priests of the Triforce, the Secret Stones, and the springs of this ancient time of the Interloper War. I'd even go out on a branch and say that they swallowed their stones and became both the Immortal Trio, but also the Light Spirits. And as we've talked about in the past, that could very well be the case. However,
that could very well be the case.
But the reason I bring up these last 2 pieces are, why? Why isn't it hardcore confirmed in both writing in real life and in the video game world? Why do we have such a strong belief of this, and why we can see it as true, or even highly likely, even without any actual proof? Well, the following is from Makarov, one of the 2 enemies. He talks about how there's deceit cutting both ways, and liars are like fires, and they spawn bigger and bigger and consume more in their path. The next one will be from Captain Price, about not only being able to wake up and know the fear of the end being near, and being alive that way, but you can take inventory into aspect. What that basically means is you can look at the whole situation and size it up, like how Rauru did, like how Minoru did, the hero of like each of the heroes did, and most importantly, Hylia, and even the Dragon Priests. All of these would be important aspects to history, but would be either purposely burned away or covered up.
All warfare is based on deception. For years, the West's hypocrisy has made the world a battlefield. The corrupt talk, while our brothers and sons spill their own blood. But deceit cuts both ways.
Russian authorities claim the attack was orchestrated by an American CIA operative named Joseph Allen.
The bigger the lie, the more likely people will believe it. And when a nation cries for vengeance, the lie spreads like a wildfire.
I'm looking at fighter jets over I-95.
The fire builds, devouring everything in its path.
This is a deliberate act of war against the United States.
Our enemies believe that they alone dictate the course of history. That all it takes is the will of a single man.
And all it takes is the will of a single man. That's my second of third. My third one will explain this a little bit more. What this basically means is it's the will of a single man, and deceit cuts both ways. When people cry out for vengeance, a lie can grow like a wildfire. In thus doing so, you have the interloper war. People are believed on a lie that they can alone have dominion over the sea. These people, the interlopers, believe that they alone have dominion and actual right to the Sacred Realm. They want to invade and take over, take the Triforce, the divinity, and all that other good stuff. And it seems like it stems in the sky. Now, the thing is, why would it branch onto the surface? Whether this is a byproduct of Demise's curse or not, it's the true deception and mortality of the Zonai facing, just like everyday humans, Sheikah, and so on. And thus, it gets infected to the land because of these dragon priests presumably being Zonai. They would know about this because they might even have their own secret stones. If these Zonai priests have their own stones, it's going to be shown to their other Zonai brethren. And in doing so, it creates deceit, it creates lies, people want more power, people want these stones to unlock the Sacred Realm, to get the... You see how the Interloper War became a very quick slippery slope, right?
Yes.
So with this, a plan of action had to happen, and when it comes to the Interloper War, when it comes to all of these ancient dealings and so on, it was probably documented, yeah, but a lot of it was probably destroyed. Whether for the good of it, whether for the bad of it, it was probably for the good so people don't repeat the same events. If you think about it, a war happens, a kingdom is established, so then it's the effect of the war, but then another war happens because this kingdom is established. It's like a never-ending daisy chain.
Yep.
The reason why...
Daisy chain of doom.
Exactly. Now, the reason why this history was wiped out could have been for a good reason and good intentions to make sure that it doesn't happen again. But as we can see with real life, and with this last example, if you wipe out the truth, if you wipe out history, what do you really have?
I'll tell you what you have.
What you have?
If you suppress or rewrite history in order to circumvent it from happening again, or from having the truth come out. Even if that was good, and even if that was done for the best of intentions. Well, you know what they say: the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Frickin' exactly.
If you have erased that history, if you are no longer learning from that history, you are doomed to repeat it.
Frickin' exactly. And as we put it, we see it happen IRL, which I don't want to get too much into. You know I can. But in Hyrule's case, they doomed to repeat themselves for not learning their history. Well, yeah. Everything that would reflect this ancient past before Age of Imprisonment was most likely kept in the records of Rauru and Minoru. Okay, cool. Where are their records? In the sky, underground, in the restricted area beneath the castle, in a whole bunch of rubble and ruined parts that really can't be accessed. And even the parts you can access, you can't read it without knowing how to translate it. It's like that well hidden that it doomed Hyrule in a sense, you know? So with that, actions needed to happen, which resulted in Tears of the Kingdom and finding out about this loop, and all about time, from the Goddess of Time to the Ocarina of Time to the timeline splits to the Example of Time and other media. It all comes down to the definition of truth. The only people who could tell it at that point that would exist at this modern day, and within the multiple parallel splits of time at the same wavelength, Zelda of Wilds and Tears, Ganondorf the OG from Age of Imprisonment, and then technically Sky, but he doesn't have access to his original body. So he's the one aspect that is always there, like the other two. So, with that being said, I'll give this last one, where it's like, no, I'll give it in a moment.
We got one good UMP. They have got 1,000. We don't even know if Makarov's intel's any good. Price? Price?
The healthy human mind doesn't wake up in the morning thinking this is its last day on Earth. But I think that's a luxury, not a curse. To know you're close to the end is a kind of freedom. Good time to take inventory. Outgunned, outnumbered, out of our minds on a suicide mission. But the sand and rocks here, stained with thousands of years of warfare, they will remember us for this. Because out of all our vast array of nightmares, this is the one we choose for ourselves. We go forward like a breath exhaled from the earth, with vigor in our hearts and one goal in sight. We will kill him.
This is for the record. History is written by the victor. History is filled with liars. If he lives and we die, his truth becomes written and ours is lost. Shepard will be a hero, because all you need to change the world is one good lie and a river of blood. He's about to complete the greatest trick a liar ever played on history. His truth will be the truth, but only if he lives and we die.
Now, with that aspect and how we fit that with time and Zelda, the only person who would be able to witness the truth in every aspect of it in the Zelda format is Zelda herself. If you think about it, she's the one to see Ganondorf rise up to power, turn into the Demon King, and then get sealed away only to come back. She's also the only one to be able to live that long. Like, we thought it was nuts that she was 117 at the end of Breath of the Wild and not dead or old, and we also thought it was nuts at the end of Tears of the Kingdom. She's now presumably 121 at the end of that game. But wait, no, she's not. She's 121 plus question mark. What do you mean by question mark? How much time has it been? Exactly. Yeah. From the very first kingdom established after the Interloper War, way after Skyward Sword, but also way before Minish Cap, all the way to that time, which, mind you, Nintendo has canonically said Tears of the Kingdom Breath of the Wild does not come after any of the three established, but comes after all of them somehow. But Age of Imprisonment, the Tears of the Kingdom memories are also canon. And then, as I've shown with this one graphic here, this would probably be that explanation. So, I then go back to, who would have that truth? Through all the deceit and the lies of the different timelines, the Demon King, Reborn Ganondorf, his Boonshins, and all of the River of Blood that was led from the Interloper War to this point of Age of Imprisonment. Who's that one person that would know the truth? And that's Zelda. She's the one that was sent from this detached future to connect to the ancient past, and then reconnect the ancient past to the distant future. And then you sit here like, so she went from the pre-established timeline back to her own reality? Yeah. So that's the connection to establish the entire timeline. This right here. And that would be that truth. Zelda herself. With the ultimate recall in effect and her coming back to normal, imagine what she could write down.
Yeah.
The eons.
Mm-hmm. I want to take a moment before we finish off.
Oh yeah, man. What?
I have a couple of quotes regarding the timeline of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. So these are official.
You also have them visually, so I can put them up on the screen?
I have them in a document. So I don't know how we would do that.
Is it a Google Doc?
It's a Google Doc, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you can share it to me. I can open it up off screen and then show it on screen.
Okay.
Alright. Let me do
So there's a link.
Use this, visit site.
Pull it up.
Going to pull that up now. Dude, I'm just gonna say it again. I love making this podcast with you, man. Like,
it's a lot of fun, man.
Bro, I've been saying it for years. Like, man, I need to start a Zelda cast, and you're like, hey, would it be a good idea to start a Zelda podcast? I'm like, dude, yes.
Yes.
Okay,
right,
where
so
to?
I'll start at the top on the first one here. So the interviewer asks, "Where do you place this story in the history of Hyrule? I'm wondering if it is a later story than any of the previous one." And Aonuma says it would be the latest, of course, but well, I understand. You're talking about which timeline it falls on, right? Laughs. Fujibayashi, that is left to your imagination, isn't it? Aonuma follows up. The history of Hyrule changes over time. When I was working on the next piece, I would think, oh, this is more convenient. And then I would get into it. Or conversely, I would reframe it because I thought it was a bad idea. In fact, there have been several instances in the past where the history that was once decided upon has been slightly changed. Fujibayashi, the term that's recently become popular within the company is new interpretation. Strictly speaking, it does not mean that things have changed, but rather that new materials or new facts have been discovered. Aonuma. Even in history textbooks, the details are constantly changing, aren't they? So this time, it's like finding a new ancient document. Oh, I see. So there's still no settled theory on how to interpret the ancient document of Breath of the Wild, says the interviewer. So Fujibayashi laughs and says, so keep your eyes peeled for further research. You can count on us. That's the first of 3 that I have here. So the second one, interviewer asks, does the Hyrule we saw in the flashback scenes in Tears of the Kingdom predate Skyward Sword, or does it come after the other games in the timeline? Fujibayashi says, obviously there's something a little bit clearer in our minds, but of course, it could be that we're wrong as well. I kind of want to pose the idea that, like in real-life history, you would define it by the artifacts and by the data that you currently have. So within what we have, there might be a correct answer, but it could be a different answer. So I guess my answer would be that it could be both. Both could be correct.
Both? Both. Yes, both is good.
Yeah. Aonuma says, I mean, The Legend of Zelda is a series of games that focus on puzzle solving. So this is just another sort of puzzle that the users will have to see if they can solve and think about. And then the last one, this is one of the more famous or infamous quotes regarding the timeline.
Mm-hmm.
So the interviewer asks, I know this is a regular question, but where does Tears of the Kingdom fit into the Zelda timeline? Skyward Sword is depicted as the origin, and Breath of the Wild is depicted at the very end. But Tears of the Kingdom is both a sequel to Breath of the Wild and reveals the story of the establishment of Hyrule Kingdom. So I wonder if perhaps this is now the origin? And Fujibayashi responds with, without a doubt, the events of this story are set after Breath of the Wild. And fundamentally, we intend the Legend of Zelda series story and world to not break apart. So I can only say 2 things at this point. Keeping in mind that premise of not breaking apart, I believe that there's room for fans to think, so then is this a possibility? And if I were to speak only upon that potential, it is possible that although this story tells the story of the founding of Hyrule, it could have history that's previously been destroyed, too. We didn't produce this in some random way. Instead, we thought, would it be interesting to do it this way? And this includes things that go unmentioned. So I hope you will enjoy imagining it.
Now,
that part right there about history that's previously been destroyed, goes right in line with what we're talking about.
Yep.
To the victor go the spoils.
Yep.
The entire era of chaos completely severed most of what used to exist. So they've lost a lot of their original history.
Exactly.
And then the Kingdom of Hyrule is established to create a foundation for peace and prosperity and to control the situation from there on. To control the narrative.
I love this whole interview each time I look at it because, like, you could tell the interviewer went very specific on the wording. Like, that second one, flashback scenes, Tears of the Kingdom predates Skyward Sword has come after the other games in the timeline. It's both a no but yes kind of question at the same time. So, with the destroyed part, which is literally the era of chaos, like, anything that is still surviving is either through the word of mouth, like Light Spirit Lanayru, or through any kind of documentation that's now hidden or destroyed, or takes time to translate. But it's still very well hidden, whether the high up of the sky, the down deeps of the depths, or really just hidden within the caves of the overworld. And still, to find it, it's not easy to understand. But at the same time, when depicting it as, is it here or here, yes, it's after all the games, because it's literally after everything from Skyward Sword to Breath of the Wild. So yes, Tears of the Kingdom is after all the games. But this ancient era, you see the flashbacks, that's what happens in this upcoming game, Age of Imprisonment. In the time sitting of this interview, nobody knew that game was coming out. And yet, the Zelda team, I don't want to say in this interview here, the Zelda team essentially said this here that you and I came up with after many years of talking and discussing this. I'm not saying the Zelda team basically said you and I right here have what they said now in a visual kind of example, but I think right here we have what they were talking about in a visual example.
Yeah.
There's no other way I'm looking at this other than, like, give it the example of I said that you, me, and Dan, the Triforce trio that I call us, were like the trio of the Zelda team. Miyamoto, Fujibayashi, and Aonuma. The aspects of the Triforce even. Like, in this interview, that's basically saying, yes, this is after everything. Yes, this ancient era is before many games, but not before Skyward Sword. There is time travel you're seeing, but there's also reunification, and as Fujibayashi put it, that you're seeing it connect by finding, I should say, not making, but by finding new documents of ancient history. And that could be seen as the slabs, the murals in-game, or even new documents on history. It's like how people like us and people for like museums and for textbooks and so on find more history, and as you put it, textbooks get rewritten and get updated. So who knows? The Fee timeline could very well be it. Like, because if anybody wants to see Ganondorf come back, any game that Ganondorf's in, it's going to be in this loop. But any possibility of a new Hyrule could be, again, in the adult timeline, maybe in the child timeline, in the loop, or it could be after Tears of the Kingdom, you know? And that's what I love. It's truth by doing history and literally explaining history and going further.
Yep.
And I think that's all we got. That was awesome, LH. As always, you my dude, like, dude, I said it before. I was a fanboy of yours. Now I'm a good friend, and dude, like, I just want to end this episode off special before we got to skedaddle. Dude, in 9 days, you're getting married. It's now 9 days away, and this episode might come out right beforehand or so, might come out after, I'm not sure yet, but now we can now I feel at least okay to explain this on an episode. Everyone at home, Oaflings from my side, historians from LH's side, or even, scrubs from both of us, friends and subs and followers alike, everyone, and even people who hate us. I want to take this moment to say, LH, my good friend here, good guy that I like to call my brother, he's going to be getting married here in 9 days. Dude, you deserve it. Like, you're an upbeat.
Thank you.
You are an upbeat guy. You are an honest guy, and you're like me, who wears his heart on his sleeve, but at the same time, you're not really one to outright. How do I say it? You're one to take all of the facts and literally display that in every aspect. So not only here on the podcast, but when it comes to humanity. Like, as my friend, I want to say, you and Dan both have been just absolute graces from whatever god or gods might be above. Like, I got to know both of you around a time that people who were really close to me showed their true colors and are no longer with us. And with that's why I like to call you guys my brothers, because, like, you guys are so close and you guys mean so much. And for you to be getting hitched in 9 days, I just want to say congratulations, and dude, you deserve all the bit that Mrs. Oaf behind me says congratulations.
Thank you.
He says thank you. She says you're welcome. But yeah, man, like, I won't be able to make it, sadly, but if there's like any video of it, I'd love to see it, because but just know, even though I'm not going to be able to be there, don't got a passport, just know I'm still going to be there with you in your heart, mind, and soul, just like the Triforce. Soul is courage, mind is wisdom, and heart, literally emotion, is power. You, my dude, are like Dan. You wielded all three pieces excellently, and like with you and Kay, I just wish you guys a very happy life together, and a very happy next life to come afterwards, like from here on outwards, because dude.
From the bottom of my heart, man, thank you so freaking much. Like, I am so ecstatic about this. Like, the last couple of weeks have just been like, they feel like they're just ticking by so slow, where it's like, I just want to get to that day.
Exactly.
I just want to be there with her and start this chapter together, and I'm like itching for it. Like, it's just
it's like Wind Waker New Game Plus, or Zelda 1, you know, Second Adventure, or for example, Mrs. Oaf and I, we're not married, but we've been together come this January 7 years, and it's been a wild ride at this point that we might actually be considered common law, where it's like, yeah, you guys aren't married in the traditional sense, but legally I guess you guys are. Oh, okay, fine, whatever. No, I'm just joking around here. I love you. But that's the thing, like, when it comes to her and I, you know, we've been together for almost 7 years now, and we joke around all the time, and I'm very, very excited to see you as well in that next leg of you guys' journey, because y'all will be able to get, you know, even closer and joke around even more, and, you know, do stuff like that. Who knows, maybe in the future, whether I can get a passport, whether you can come, actually, as someone here who lives in the States, don't come down here, for your own betterment, for your own safety, man, don't come down here. I'd rather come up there and risk the whole thing of not coming back down here. But whenever, if ever we can meet in the future, IRL, I know that I know I could probably get some good ideas floating towards you, but we'll probably get some good ideas, you know, going on in the future. But again, very much happy, very much excited for you, dude. I personally want to dedicate this episode to you and Kay together, and for a very special future to come. So, with that being said, I'm Ulf.
I'm Larulian Historian.
And this was Deku Scrub Playground, Episode 3. Y'all have been awesome. We'll catch you guys later. We're going to be taking a short hiatus from theories, Zelda Timeline playthrough uploads, the Deku Scrub Playground, just for a while. Some things will be coming.
Just a little bit.
Some things will come back sooner than other. But we not only does LH have this big day coming up, I now want to say this. We are... Oh, God, I'm happy to finally say this. We are a little bit over 4 months away from a very special giant collab project I've been teasing here on OGOF Gaming, on Discord, on a few servers, through streams, uploads, through videos. I've been teasing this for the betterment of a year and a half. I'm happy to say, as of today, or as of a few weeks ago actually, we finally have gotten started on the Zelda Timeline Video 40th Anniversary Special. What this is myself, my good buddy here, LH, our other good buddy, Dan the Man, my other good friend, Mirage, aka Bork Nugget. All four of us are teaming together to bring to you guys on the Zelda Anniversary, Saturday, February 21st, 2026, a special giant collab video of us four together presenting the Zelda timeline in the aspect that us fans see it. So yes, we will be showing the way that it's been shown established through the Zelda and Nintendo teams, but also with how we see it too. The Fee timeline, for example, you guys seen today, will be shown in that video, and we'll go a little bit more in depth with it, but what I would like to say is, very happy to announce that this project is coming out. It's coming out on the Zelda 40th Anniversary, and I want to thank Dan and LH and Mirage for helping out and pitching in and doing pieces and, you know, all this. So we're excited to show you guys that, and just stay tuned, because like it'll be shared on my pages, it'll be shared on LH's pages, probably Dan and Mirage, but I know it'll be a good time making it. I know it'll be a good time showing it, and then it'll be a good time relaxing until the next big thing happens. So with that I say, you guys have been awesome. LH, love you, bro. Give Kayla our regards, our love from me and the missus, and even Mama Oaf, Papa Oaf, and from the Oaflings and historians and scrubs at home. Y'all been great. This is awesome, episode 3, and I'll catch you guys later.
Later.
Peace out.